Okay. Hi, I'm Mason Ziegler, and I'm going to be presenting and analyzing the Joker. So I wanted to start off with a more broad look and an overall view of the story and what it is about. So the story itself is about a mentally ill man by the name of Arthur Fleck, who is constantly neglected from society. Um, he's bullied for his mental illness. He is called names. He's even beaten up at some points in the story. So the film focuses on him trying to deal with all these things and find a place in society and the city of Gotham. Um, Throughout the film, after dealing with all these things and even trying his best to find his place in the world, he does at the end realize that it's a lot easier to take up a more chaotic and wicked path to draw attention. This results in him murdering many people and just giving in to this constant negativity. And it does end up giving him the attention he was seeking, but for all the wrong reasons. This film gives a lot of insight into the tendencies of mentally ill patients for people that don't have to experience that in their everyday life. So for those, I wouldn't want to say that are ignorant, but for those that don't know, there's so much to learn, and this film does show what they have to go through a lot. So I feel like that is very eye-opening to a lot of people, and it's very important. And also, this film shows also how easy it is to help someone, and how just simply asking how they're doing or asking if they need help can change and prevent so much from happening, because that downhill spiral can go very, very quickly, and it snowballs very, very quickly. And lastly, this film shows how quickly someone with a mental illness can change for the worse. Like I said, the beginning of this film, Arthur does have the mental illness, but he like contains it. He acts as if he's doing a great job of containing it and trying his best to be normal. But all these things that just pile up throughout the film lead to him completely crashing, and it shows his downfall at the end of the film because of all these things. So the main focus is that this film might seem like it is glorifying insanity and chaos, but it is actually acting as a call for help. The mentally ill community is one that needs a lot of attention. I feel like in this point in life and our current world, they need more attention drawn to them so they can get better places in society and treated normally. Because this film shows what they have to go through, and it is tough. So I feel like this film is really calling for help for them, so they can reap the benefits of society like everyone else normally does. This film also asks for some sympathy for the mentally ill community. I do feel like this film, at least through the first two parts, you are supposed to feel sympathy for Arthur Fleck, even though at the end it shows that he is not a bad person, but he gives in. But through the beginning two acts of the film, you are meant to feel sympathy for this person because he's done everything he can to be a good human, and it just has not worked out well for him. This film also shoots to demand change in certain aspects of a mentally ill patient's life. What I mean by that is it really pushes for people to look at them a different way and view them as normal, This film at certain points also campaigns, hints at campaigning for more affordable healthcare and therapy for people like Arthur with mental illness, which I think is very great. And this film does a great job of leaving the audience those hints, but without coming out and saying it. So it does a great job of that. But yeah, the film has all of these points that it's trying to make, even though it is viewed by many as glorifying mental illness. So I wanted to analyze what makes this film the way it is and the strategies that the filmmakers and the directors used to draw attention to mental illness, because in the end, that is what this film is about, and that is the main goal of this film. So I want to start off with the constant neglection of Arthur and the bullying he goes through. Like I said, this is a tool used to draw sympathy from the audience. It shows how like everyday life is very tough and different for someone like Arthur. Even putting him in a current situation of being poor, Arthur is very impoverished in this film. It really shows what is happening in his everyday life and how he keeps having a positive outlook on things, but eventually it's just too much. So the audience is really meant to feel sympathy for him there. This clip right here, I included a link. I don't want to play it because when I upload this to YouTube, it might get taken down and copyrighted. But that is a clip of Arthur in the beginning of a film. In the film, he is on a subway, and in front of him, a little girl is sitting there with her mother, and Arthur begins to try to make the girl laugh by making funny faces, and he's in a good mood, and he's really just trying to make others around him happy. And the mother turns around and notices obviously that something is wrong with Arthur by the way he's acting, and she calls him a freak and tells him to mind his own business. And the camera then zooms in on Arthur, and it shows just the change in facial expression, and it shows that he was hurt by this a lot, just for trying to be happy and make others around him happy. So yeah, I thought that was a great clip to include because it exemplifies the constant bullying that he goes through in this film. Like I said, he just attempts to be normal and help others throughout the entire film. Like I said, that bus scene, his mother is very ill, so Arthur works a very tiring job, a low-paying job, but very tiring throughout the entire film, just to help his mother and pay for her medical bills and keep her well, which is really touching to see that he's just putting himself through a lot of stuff just to keep his mother safe. And he even volunteers at a children's hospital as a clown to dance and make them laugh. It does end up going horribly wrong, but the intentions were so positive because he wanted to make all these kids happy. And it just shows that he's such a great person, and that even people in our everyday life can be these great people that have these mental illnesses. So not all of them are negative. I feel like this film does an exceptional job of taking a well-known fictional comic book character from Batman comics and turning him into something that our society could view as a symbol for, well, I wouldn't say a symbol, but a representation of the changes that need to be made in order for the mentally ill community to succeed and prosper. I would also like to mainly focus on Arthur's laughter. Arthur's laughter is something that throughout the film progresses. And I don't want to say the laughter itself, but the situations in which he laughs. So in the beginning of the film, Arthur is mainly focused, or his mental illness is his laughter, and he has a card that he pulls out, and it says, "I can't control my laughter. I'm sorry, I have this mental illness," and he gives it to people while he's laughing because he can't control himself. And then in the second act of the film, he still can't control his laughter, but he's just doing it in situations that get him in more and more trouble. He does it when this girl is getting sexually assaulted on a subway. He starts to laugh, and he just does it in all these situations that are getting him in trouble, but he still can't control it. At the end of the film, it seems almost as if he can control it, and he's just doing it in very twisted and wicked ways. He begins to laugh at murder, terrible, dark jokes, and the laugh now seems genuine instead of like a cackling cough that he was trying to prevent from earlier. Um, I want to mention something that I call the way out. This film really does show Arthur's attempt to climb up this ladder to get out of this impoverished life that he's in and get out of this life of being neglected and seen as something different than human. And he's constantly climbing, and every time someone bullies him, beats him up, makes fun of him, um, refuses to see him as equal, it's almost as if he gets kicked off the ladder and falls spiraling back down into this dark hole. And I feel like showing that constant climb is a great tool to like enlighten the audience of what's actually happening behind the scenes of people like this in their everyday life. I feel like that was very, very impactful the first time I watched the film. And I wanted to address the ending. Many people see the ending of this film and assume that, oh, Arthur's just another insane freak that went on a murdering spree. And they assume that it glorifies his mental illness because he is smiling in the last scene. But I feel this scene, while it may not be accurate of what could happen in everyday life with a mentally ill person, it really gives you that punch in the gut feeling right at the end of the film to show what this man has gone through and what it's led him to. It really does a great job of leaving the audience that feeling and a lasting feeling. So say they leave the movie theater, they go about everyday life and they're just thinking about, wow, this community does need attention drawn to it and it needs changes fast, because while it may not be to this extent of this movie, bad things can happen. They have happened before. So the directors have placed this scene at the end of the film on purpose to leave that lasting impact for just normal citizens who weren't enlightened about mental illness before seeing this. So this clip right underneath there is the ending scene of Arthur with a mob around him after he's murdered multiple people, wiping blood into his face into a smile as he finally smiles for one of many, or for one of the first times in the film, actually. I wanted to talk about what the critics and film experts think about this movie, and those are two very different things in this film. um, Almost all the critics from this film have very negative thoughts about it. They all agree that it's greatly crafted. It's a good movie, like on from the directors and the filmmakers' point of view, but they believe it sends a bad message, and this is mainly because they view it as political. They think that is a misrepresentation of the mentally ill community, and they think that it might encourage copycats. The picture on the right over here is the guy from the 2008 Dark Knight Massacre. That film also had the Joker in it, a different version. But for those of you that don't know, this man walked into the midnight showing of the Dark Knight and shot up the theater. And he claimed to be the Joker, or he represented himself as the Joker. So many critics believe that releasing this film was a very bad idea and that it could encourage copycats like it had before. They also all agree that Arthur's downfall at the end of the film is glorified, but as I mentioned before, I believe that this is just because they wanted to have that lasting punch, not lasting feeling when you're leaving the theater. So now the film experts, they believe that the film, while it is inaccurate at times, it does take the necessary steps to demand change for this community. They feel like it is successful in that matter. And then director Todd Phillips addressed all these critics when the film was coming out. He said, "We know this is a touchy subject, but we believe that we have properly executed the storyline and the character in order for there to be no incidents and for it to have a positive message on change towards the end of the film." So my interpretation, I believe that Arthur Fleck is used correctly to draw attention, whether it's the sympathy we develop for him, the feeling that we leave the theater with after watching the film, and the taking a fictional character into making it a very real thing that could happen. I feel like all those things are correctly or executed um, correctly to draw attention to this community. And I don't believe that is the most accurate portrayal of mentally ill symptoms because they're very. I've never heard of any symptoms of someone having uncontrollable laughter, but he may not be the best symbol for the mentally ill community, but the film does its job as drawing attention to the mentally ill community and asking for help for it. My thesis. My project aims to show that even though the film seems as if it is glorifying mental illness and chaos, it actually acts as an effective call for help for the mentally ill community. Any questions? In this picture here is the scene I was mentioning earlier with Arthur finally smiling and the mob around him finally feeling wanted and the attention he received. All right. Thank you very much.